and yield a call to Dr. HENDO I.L. Henderson, the ad hoc Chief Justice of the Universal World Court. He is Yehoshua Mashiach, the Son of Man, the Son of God. Rise and shine, sir.
Rise and shine. How do you hear me?
We can hear you very clearly, sir.
Outstanding. Let me first say welcome to all the callers that have called in. This is a call that has been designated for a land whereby it has been, I would say mistakenly, for years now to be called the United States of America. These lands are still part of a would-be nation based upon 5 nations cooperation together, whereby they are unincorporated. They're not nations that belong to any business. They don't belong to any would-be group of people. They don't belong to any private or secret citizens anywhere. These are 5 unincorporated nations. These nations are sovereign, always has been sovereign, always will be sovereign, and they're never going to have any representation to take charge or to be in charge or even trying to get in charge of them. It's not going to happen. Now, I'm saying that in reference to now, we know we have to reference this as being the United States call because so many people are calling into this call, and they have to represent or identify themselves with some nation or someone. The average one that's calling in from this land, they're having to identify as United States citizens, and that's all due to a mix-up on what the Caucasian Caucasian world did and the European nations that came over to bring nothing more than their prisoners and look for a place to house them. Now, I know a lot of our brothers and sisters that are listening to me, they get very upset. Some of them just get anxiety based upon the fact that me making these statements, but they're true statements. And right now, there's no confusion in what will be classified as the representatives or the representatives of this land. They're not confused right now. They are very much knowledgeable of everything that is going on, everything that took place before. They know everything that would be even classified as some history, if it might be given any would-be so-called legal chance of even panning out in anyone's so-called would-be history book. You know, all the nations around us now have begun to give the United States, as they still call it that name, an F in all areas of what they deem to be education for their internationally is concerned. Based upon the fact they know America has claimed so much history and so much that they've done, and no one has been able to find any evidence of any of that taking place up to this point. And again, I said, angers our brothers and sisters that believe in a civil war that America fought for its freedom. They believe in some independence war that they fought. They believe that they fought against the North and the South. But all that fighting was in vain because it was one group of people known as Europeans fighting against themselves. And they never conquered this land. For the matter of fact, they lost track on who was in charge of this land based upon the fact they began to do nothing more than, I would say, choose little tracts of land for themselves. They chose a small enough tract around the Potomac River that they could classify it as being some headquarters or location for the Union Army. The Union Army being that Union Army that put itself together or combined itself in some union of such where they were going to protect one another and they were going to at least save themselves from the savages in which they were trying to overthrow them in their land. And at the same time, they were fighting against each other on the north, the south, and the east and the west. They were fighting. All of them was trying to carve out a place, a tract of land that they might be able to call their own in someone else's land. That never happened. It's not going to happen. And I have to caution all of the native would-be so-called Americans now. I'm talking about the black people, the red people, the people that are now classifying themselves as Indians. I have to caution them. You have to be very careful because you're allowing yourself to say, well, my granddad or my grandmother or my aunt, they sold this. They can't sell the land. It cannot be sold. So if you're one of those melanated people of color that's benefited off the land because you believe that you've made some money off of it, I'm going to say to you right away, be prepared to pay that money back. So those people, that your family, whoever, said that they were selling the land to those people received a deed. That deed is better known as nothing more than a rental agreement. It's a lease agreement. It has nothing to do with relinquishing the land and definitely not the mineral rights on the land. So your family didn't sell anything. I can tell you they were manipulated, most of them, to believe they did. And the ones that believe they did only did it for some benefit that they themselves could not obtain because they didn't own it themselves. The land cannot be owned by individuals. It was owned by the nation. 5 unincorporated nations. And there were chiefs that were in charge of that land. And those chiefs knew very well that they could not sell that land. That's the whole fight that America's having now. They're claiming that some Americans were at that meeting and supposedly they made illegal would-be purchases of the land. No, they never purchased the land. Majority of those leaders that were there, they were Indians. And those that they classified to be the Indians that showed up, the Okatas and all the other ones, Akaluma, all of them that showed up, they was representing the nation, not just the tribe or not just the people, but they were representing the nation. But they knew they could not sell the land. They were already well aware of that before they came to the meeting. Only the so-called would-be union soldiers, the Union commanders, the Union leaders were the only idiots there at the whole meeting. And even though they brought in paperwork for people to sign, and when you couldn't sign, just put a mark on it, them dummies had no clue that were already paperwork that already had been signed. And that paperwork had already stated that the land could not be sold, neither could it be given away. It was already there. It was already paperwork that was already recorded at the highest court in the land and at the international courts of the land. So the idiots that were asking and classifying themselves as forcing someone to sign those papers were dummies. But even though it could have been by coercion, it could have been under threat. It didn't matter because the paperwork that they were signing were like idiot paperwork that was being given to them because it was not going to be legal irregardless. And that's America's problem right now because America is trying to get along from all nations around them right now. And all the nations have now sat down and reviewed of what America has told them in the past, looking into America's past history, and I'm talking all the way to America's would-be so-called financial history. They realize that America has not paid back one penny that they're borrowing. They have found out that every penny that America has borrowed, they have no accountability for it. Every would-be so-called trade that America has ever done, they have no accountability for it. Why? Because it was not their mineral rights. The oil, the gas, the timber, the gravel, the salt, the sugar, none of those things were in any possession of any United States or any so-called would-be American. It was not in their possession. They didn't own it. And even though perhaps maybe some of them may have claimed to grew it, they may have claimed to it being on some plantation that they would have had people planting and growing on. But it was one thing about it, it wasn't their land. They didn't own the land, so thereby they could not produce anything from the land that they could have benefited off, even though they constantly tried. And they've been trying. They're trying right now. They're trying to sell oil off this land and nobody will buy it. They're trying to give away gold that they're stole, but nobody will purchase it. Nobody wants to touch it. They're still trying to give people this would-be so-called dead note of a $1, saying that I owe you, we'll pay you this amount, we'll give you hundreds of dollars, we'll give you thousands of dollars, we'll give you millions of dollars, we'll give you billions of dollars. But in all accountability, there's no dollars worth anything right now. That's the problem they're having. Now, I do know that Modi, most of you don't know Modi, but Modi is considered to be the Indian Prime Minister. India Prime Minister. He's not the Indian Prime Minister, as America has brought to everyone's attention, but he happens to be the India Prime Minister. He just came to America for an elaborate dinner. See, once he was to be scheduled to come there, Obama was in the White House at that time. We knew that, and everybody knows that Modi, he kind of had his inauguration, or he was inaugurated back in 2014 in India. And by him being the prime minister there, he was under several would-be so-called accusations where he was being accused of human rights violations and abuses. Thereby, this is something that Obama used to prevent him from having to deal with Modi, the prime minister of India back then. But yes, we know that one known that Joe Biden is always into trying to make a dollar, whether it be a fair dollar or an honest dollar or even an unfair dollar. He don't care as long as he can make that dollar. So he was willing to bring Modi to the White House just recently. Obama, they said, would have walked into a debate by censoring Modi government for his treatment of Muslims back during his time. And the U.S. president was being accused at that time of not having any moral authority, such as because Modi was accusing him of human rights violations of the very black people and the Indian people that had resided in the United States of America even before the United States of America was ever said to be a nation. Because Modi also is part of the would-be so-called overall United Nations and the World Summit that knows about the history of America and knows that America is nothing more than a made-up nation. So he didn't care anything about what Obama was talking about. Come on, Modi. I need everyone to follow me for a moment. And I know I didn't officially introduce who we are and what we're doing, but at this moment in time, I'm carrying you on a journey that you need to go on. So all of the ignorance that's going through the United States of America at the highest level of those representing the United States of American citizens, perhaps if those that are classifying themselves to be citizens of the United States of America, if they become more intelligent than their upper so-called would-be representatives, the world might get better for everyone. But right now, the upper would-be so-called class, if we might give them that level of, I would say, degree of recognition, those representatives are very ignorant right now, or they're at least pretending to be. Because they seem to be looking past the true history of this nation. They're too busy campaigning on lies. like we're going to finally stop beating the black people, or we're going to finally stop killing off all of the young black men, or are we going to make sure that we start allowing the ladies to at least lay down where they want to and gap their legs anytime they feel like it, and then we'll allow them to abort the child when they feel that they want to have more fun, rather than become a parent. Stay with me. I'm just giving you what's happening so you can stop going around being just as idiot and stupid and arrogant as those that are at your highest level of your so-called would-be representative based upon your nation right now. Because they're making you look really, really bad in all the other nations. They're making you look really, really bad. All the nations now, they're giving the United States an F when it comes down to education, not in your schools, but with the knowledge of knowing the truth about what's going on this planet. I'm talking to you now about something that happened around the year of 2014, 2016, when Barack Obama was still in the White House. He didn't want to deal with Modi. The same person that just left the White House that Joe Biden just so happened to have this great big old dinner for. Not only did Joe Biden not really hold down the fort and talk to Mr. Modi in any way whereby it would have been respectful, he put Kamala Harris up to do it. Kamala. The same person he sent to Mexico to talk. The same person he sent to Venezuela and all the other would-be so-called foreign nations up to this point. It's always been Kamala that's been talking to these people. And all of those people, you have to understand that Joe Biden is considering those people to be people of color, like India, the Prime Minister from India, because he knows that the melanated people are known as the true Indians of America. So he would rather allow Kamala to talk to all these people in reference to they're her people. Maybe she can convince her people to allow him, some white would-be master, to still control the world. And right now I can tell them that Kamala Harris is getting a bad grade in that area. She is flunking in all areas of trying to be an ambassador. She's flunking in that area. We can only imagine what would happen, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to her becoming the would-be so-called leader of this free world called the United States of America. I would love to see Kamala Harris right now in charge. I know. Most of you wouldn't. And I can tell you that white world, when they heard me say that, right now they all start pulling their hair out. They're pulling their hair out in each other's hair out. They look like Larry, Moe, and Curly right now because they're pulling each other's hair out and slapping each other when I think Kamala Harris just may become their first black president female. They don't like to hear that. And I would love it because right now it wouldn't be a whole lot of time left anyway for America to hold a position of such, of being in charge of anything. Now, Modi, I would tell you that Modi himself would tell him that. Because Narendra Modi, it just left the White House not too long ago, and I'm sure his horse and carriage hasn't yet cooled down from the long, warm walk that they took around the White House. So stay with me, God Almighty. You need to understand this stuff. You people at the so-called would-be lower level of the life of America. You so-called would-be people that you're classified as the laymen. You're the workers. You kind of like all the queen bees. You got a bunch of working bees. You're like the working bee, making that honey, but you have no idea just how really sweet it really is because you never get to taste it. You just make it and keep it moving. Stay with me. I know it's hard to do that, but it's possible. Now, Modi, that just left the White House, was kind of there because Joe Biden believes that if he brings this India leader, their prime minister, that believing that India is the most richest nation on the planet right now. I know. No one is paying any attention to that. No, it's not China. They believe that it's India. They believe that India is the most richest nation on the planet right now. They believe that. No truth to it. I can assure them that. But that's what they believe. So Biden's whole would-be motive was to bring Modi to the White House, sugarcoat everything, and just, really, really show him a really good time. And then he was going to throw in, we need to borrow some money. I know. Everybody already knew what that was about. You just knew it was coming. You just didn't want it to come from Dr. HENDO Anderson because you don't want to believe what I'm saying. I don't care if they know my name. Be quiet, dude. Listen. They did not want you to know that they were bringing Modi. Modi, talk to me. You know who I am. I know. Modi, you know who I am. So you might want to tell the people that what I'm saying is true. They brought you to the White House because they wanted to sugarcoat everything, and they wanted to just, really, really get to you. They wanted to sit you down, baby you up, pep you up, tell you how great you are, tell you what nice beard you have trimmed, and you look good for a man of your age, being that you have all of those silver cords hanging around your face and head, and you got them so neatly trimmed. I know they told you all these things, just so they could try to bait you up, just so he could say, we need to borrow some money. Stay with me. Get out of my... No, Modi, listen to me, my brother. I know. Because you know that you could not give them a loan if you wanted to because you need me to give you a loan, right? I know. That's not going to happen. You can already tell them that. You can already tell them that the Chief Justice of the Universal World Court has already told you that he was not giving anybody any loans. None whatsoever. Everybody's going to come to the table at the same time. They're going to have a clean record. They're going to be done got their house in order or they won't receive anything. You need to tell them that. Because America don't get it yet. They don't understand that they have the most important person in their land right now in order that they might be able to even try to survive. And they're treating him like he's dirt. They're trying to ignore him. They're trying to go around him. And this guy, Obama, already borrowed $875 billion from me. He haven't paid me back one penny yet. I know. No, I never agreed to him borrowing it, but that's what he told the government. That's what he told you guys. He borrowed $875 billion. I know he didn't ask me for it. He's classifying it as borrowing. You know as well as I know that when you get something from someone and you did not get permission to get it from them, you're right. It's called theft. You're stealing it, not borrowing it. I don't care, Mr. Obama. You listen to me. I'm just helping you out. It was my money that you took. I need it back. I don't care who you gave it to. I don't care if you gave it to J.P. Morgan. I don't care if you gave it to Elon Musk. I don't care if you gave it to. That's your business, Mr. Gates. Whoever you gave my money to, I need it back. Like yesterday. All $875 billion plus the interest that I told you and the whole world if they touched it, what my interest was going to be. Nobody touched it but you. My interest started at the moment you touched it. It was 10%. After 10 years, after 10 years, it went to 20%. Read the documents. You have them at the White House. Read the documents. After 10 years, it would go from 10% to 20% after 10 years. That was back in 2000, Mr. Obama, when I put my money there with that with the contract behind it. It is now 2023. I can count. I can do numbers. I don't like doing them. I told you that, but I can't. It is now 2023. The last time I checked, you're 13 years past that 10-year window that you were only to get my money at 10%, and then it would go after that 10th year to 20%. I am 20% now. Time 13 years last time I checked. Stay with me. $900+ trillion plus and counting. Nolingada Modid. Tell them what I'm saying, Nolingada. Tell him Nolingada Modid. Tell him what I'm saying. Yes, I know he probably can't pronounce your name, but I can. See, Joe Biden, he may be a good businessman when it comes down to making money for himself. He's not a good businessman and trying to spend someone else's money. He's trying to spend the United States money and they don't have anybody. That's the problem he truly has. I don't know who he got the money from. Listen, I didn't make a deal with CCP. Did I, CC? Talk to him. I didn't make a deal with you. Not in regards to you, me owing you. I made a deal with you in regards to you owing me. It was a difference. Tell him, CC, you know. Walter, tell them, Putin. Tell them, Putin. Tell them that I made the deal where everyone would owe me, not me owe them. I know. You need to tell them that it only works for me. I know, they're saying he's just one man. Maybe we can overthrow him. You need to explain to them that can't happen because this energy of this world in which we live in is not listening to any of you in masses, in numbers, or in dollars. It's listening to me. It's listening to me in spirit and in sense. That sense has everything to do with one mind, one heart, and one spirit. Stay with me. Golly, they don't understand it yet, but they're going to. Everyone who says he sounds so arrogant, take it for what it's worth. If they owe you, what would you do? I know. Now, I don't sound so arrogant now. I get my money. I know you would. That's why I'm going to get my money. Stay with me. BBHMM. Trust me. I'm going to get my money too. So, Nolingada Modid. He came to the White House and I would say he got a great time, didn't you, Nolingada Modid? You got treated like a king. And then you gave them a speech. And they didn't like your speech, so they failed. They failed. They were trying to bait you up. They were trying to do nothing more than sugar daddy you up. And they failed. Why? Because they didn't like you talking against their so-called democracy. I know. Because they don't understand that you don't see the same democracy that they see. Their democracy is all about manipulating people. That was evident when they brought you to the White House trying to sugar you up so they could get along. The Biden administration is a sad administration. Don't get me wrong, Barack. Stay with me now. You had a little bit. You had a little bit of respect, I would say, for the American people. But it's obvious that Mr. Biden has no respect for the American people. I know he's got boys out there. Who cares? Let me help you out. His boys failed just now again. Some more truth? You want some more truth? Help me out over there, Donald Trump. You already been indicted. You already told the people that you got indicted for them. Now you're going to be their real Jesus Christ. Get ready for it. Because they're going to get prepared. They're going to prepare a cross for you. And they're going to be ready to crucify you on it. So if you really want to be the second coming of Jesus Christ, I'm going to explain to you right now. You better be reading all the books on Jesus Christ so you can figure out how he lives forever. Because I can assure you that's not what they got planned for you. I'm not laughing. I need you to understand that I told you that too before you went to the White House. I told you, you said that you were going there to clean the swamp. I told you to pull the plug once you got on the inside. You can't pull the plug from the outside. The drain was on the inside. You didn't pull the plug once you got in. No, you left the plug there because you were too afraid that you were going to fall through with the rest of the flood. So you left the plug in. And I told you, I said, if you leave one of them there, one of those slugs there, one of that sludge, one of that filth, I told you if you left one of them there, it only takes one of them. And they're going to hold you accountable. I told you that. I said they're going to find many, many accusations. They're going to come up and they're going to trump up. 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 They're going to trump up a lot of charges on you. And they only want to make one thing. I told you that. So if you got indicted for the people, prepare yourself. I can tell you where you can start. You can read up to find out how Jesus Christ, he gave his life for the people. You can start in the book of Genesis. And when you get, no, I'm just getting you to understand that you're going to need that type of understanding. Because they're not going to let it just roll. They're not going to let it go. No. They're not going to let it go. Because right now, they got a distraction. That distraction ain't going to last long. Because Hunter's going to go to jail. Right now, him and Joe, they're at Camp David. You know what happens at Camp David. You already know. They go there, they get to pee a lot, they get to eat a lot, they get to lay around, and they get to mope around because they know that they got to come back and face the people with some kind of story. I know. You've been there before. I already know. You went there a couple of times with Ivanka. You went there a couple of times with the boys. You went there. Stay with me. I'm just telling you. That's where he's at right now. He's going to Camp David. He's taking Hunter down with him. And they both going to cry on each other's shoulder. They're trying to figure out how to come back and tell the Congress that they're sorry. At least, the Congress going to let them. Congress ain't going to hold them. No. Congress got a bunch of hungry colored people, black folks, that just want to be accepted. So they're going to forgive them. They're going to forget. They're going to say, oh, okay, y'all sorry. Let's just go in here. We're going to cook some chicken. We're going to fry some chicken. Stay with me. I'm just giving you the way they do you when they know they were wrong, too. Stay with me. Because they should have never put you in there. They're held accountable. They're responsible for you being there. That's why they're going to already accept your apology. Don't worry about it. Just hurry up and get back from Camp David. Get back there because a lot's going on. Because right now, things are going down in all the nations. And right now, America needs their president present in the White House. Oh, you left Kamala there? Oh, no, let me stop. If you left Kamala there, you better hurry up and get back to the White House because all the nations right now, they're in conference. They're all talking. They all are discussing what just happened in Russia. Yeah, they are discussing what happened in Russia due to the fact that now they know that the so-called would-be mercenaries are leaving Russia. But the mercenaries didn't just leave America. They didn't leave. I know. Pagonzia. He talks too much. I know. You thought he was a tough guy, too. He looked tough. He always had on his armor. Yeah, he was different than Zelensky. He's different than Vladimir. He walked around with a uniform on just like the rest of his soldiers. Helmet, all ready to go. He had grenades hanging off his vest. Yeah, he had a weapon in his hand and one in his pocket. Stay with me. I'm just giving you the scenery. You need to see what he's doing. I know. But see, I told you, America, he wasn't as tough as he presented to you to be. Let me help you out. To be kind to you, I'm going to say to you that this was not the same situation that you had when you went into what was known as Libya. You remember that? Okay, we're going to talk out loud about it. I'm just telling you, this is not the same situation that you had when you went into Libya and you finally found some mercenaries that would go in and handle your would-be so-called dirty work for you, and they decided to do your dirty work, and ended up a foreign leader lost his nation. That did not happen yesterday, but you tried. But somebody told Pagonzia, somebody told him the truth. They told him that you didn't have a copper red penny to pay him. They told him that different from would have been what during the time of one you would call, yeah. You understand? Stop it. Okay, I'm only saying, I said Libya. I didn't say his name. I just said Libya. I didn't call the man's name. Stop it. I did not. I said Libya. I guarantee you, if you ask the people, they will tell you right now, I never said his name. They figured it out themselves when I said Libya. So stop it. Let's put it this way then. Yesterday, what you tried to stage a coup, an overthrow of a nation, Russia. You wanted the mercenaries to go in to do your dirty work, to destroy, I didn't say the president's name. No. He didn't go hide. He's not running from you. Listen, it's obvious that whoever is in the seat, it's got to be Kamala. Are you running the White House? It's got to be you, because you're the only one that I would give this excuse to, because you've never been in the military. You don't understand the art of war. You never had to go to combat. You probably never had a schoolhouse yard fight. You probably never even got hit while you was in school. As a matter of fact, you probably never got a whipping from your mama or your dad. So you don't know anything about having to get hurt. So I know. So you wouldn't be knowledgeable of what happens when a commander is at war with a nation. They always move the commanders to the rear. They always find a safe place for the commanders when the war gets close. So he ain't running from you. He ain't hiding from you. He's doing what the art of war, he's doing what every combat soldier knows that happens. Is when the war gets heated, the closer it gets to the leader, they move the leader to another location, an undisclosed location, in a safe place. Because he is the one that's navigating the war based upon his knowledge of combat. Stay with me. Now you're beginning to get it. United States of America, you're so, man, you want me, I just sometimes just want, I'm telling you, because you just seem to be so ignorant and stupid and arrogant at the same time. You just don't know how things work, and you always think you got it figured out. Listening to all those figureheads up there, and none of them have never been to combat, and the ones that say they went to combat, they were in the military, it's obvious that they spent most of their time in the chow house. The chow house. They were somewhere eating while all of us was out there doing our real work, doing maneuvers. Yes, we were putting up tents, digging latrines. Yes, we were doing real work. It's obvious that they were in the chow house doing nothing more than eating, snacking, because it's obvious they don't know about war. They have no clue what goes on out there on the combat field. Talking about Vladimir Putin went to hide, and it's going to be really serious right now. It's a critical time. Hey, he's a commander-in-chief. They take the commander-in-chief, they move him to an undisclosed location, a safe place, a safe house, and the war goes on. And he is able to combat the war from wherever he's at in a safe place. That's what all commanders do. I know, you heard General Patton, he was out there with his men. No, he wasn't. Stop it. General Patton Jr. was not out there with his men fighting. I know they wasn't out there. Stop it. General Hugo was not out there with his men fighting. General Schwarzkopf was not out there with his men fighting. General Powell was not out there with his men fighting. Stop it. I'm just telling you the truth. Had they been out there, I would have saw their face. They were not there. They were back at the war wagon. They were back at the war house. They were back in what we call the war room. But they were in a safe location. So stop it. I'm just telling you, I'm only educating the people so the people can stop being manipulated by you with the ignorance. Because as Donald Trump has already told you himself on his Truth with what's the name of this network he has out there? Most people know it. It's called Truth Something. Help us out, people. You know what Donald Trump calls his would-be so-called site. It's Truth Something. But I can tell you what. On his site, I don't care what he's calling, he's definitely giving some truth out on it. Because he tells the United States of America, he says, be careful about what you're wishing for. He said it could be a greater or worse situation than what it is right now. He said next, it may be far worse. That's what Trump's telling you. Because he's telling you right now, America, let me tell you something. If something happens to Vladimir Putin, every nation that's out there is going to come and get you because they're going to know that you staged that coup. They're going to know that you try to pay for it, even though you don't have a penny to even pay J.C. Penney. You don't have a penny to pay Sears. You can't even pay your grandmother back the money you borrowed her to go to college. Right now, talking about you got money to pay somebody to assassinate somebody or to stage a coup. You ain't got a penny right now. And every nation knows that. They're not going to carry out something of that nature knowing you cannot really pay them. Are you crazy or what? Stay with me. I'm just telling you the truth. Because right now, you're about to send your people through a lot more problems. Great poverty is about to hit the United States of America. A greater poverty than they have ever experienced before. I know. I'm listening to the host now when she's talking about the weather war that they got going on. I can care less about the weather war. I don't care. You can drop, I would say, hell at the size of bombs. I wouldn't care. It ain't going to bother me none. You can drop hell as big as busters. I don't care. 18 bullets. You can drop hell that big. I don't care. It ain't going to bother me any. I'm being serious with you. Go right ahead. Start doing it. I don't care. Don't bother me any. You better be worried about yourself. Right now, a rush to judgment on all parts of the United States of America. I know. Joe Biden jumped on the phone before he ran off to Camp David with his son so they could crowd each other's shoulders. He calls NATO and tell NATO to handle the business until he got back because he just believed that by the time he got back, Vladimir Putin would be wiped out and those so-called would-be mercenaries would be sitting in his seat laughing and joking with their feet on his desk like a couple of people did Nancy Pelosi's desk. Stay with me. You don't get it. It ain't that easy in other nations like it was in your nation for somebody to come and sit down at one of your would-be so-called your House representative. And not only that, she was a majority leader. Somebody went in and put their feet up on their desk, kicked back, laughing and joking, wearing cow manure all on their cowboy boots and stuff. Same with me. I'm just giving you the sight so you can understand how simple it was for someone to mess up your so-called government. It's not that easy in other government. So you got to work with that thing a little bit harder than what you did just now. So I wouldn't advise you even test it again. I would tell you just stay gone, stay out the way. Those on the left and those on the right who want to appease, they say appease Putin would make the world worse. I can assure you, you sure will. You're only going to make the world worse. They're claiming that he invaded the Soviet nation and targeted civilians with missiles. Let me help you out, America. Last time I checked, when reading of all of the Soviet nations of this planet, I keep hearing them say Russia. I haven't heard not one time anybody read any document of a Soviet nation where it says America, the United States. I haven't heard that. As a matter of fact, I've even heard America read documents and it says America being covered by 5 unincorporated Soviet nations. I keep hearing that, but I have never heard them read or say anything about you being Soviet by yourself. Never. So you better stop worrying about everybody else and what they're saying. You better be worried about sovereignty. And no, he ain't violated some Soviet nation because that Soviet nation is part of his sovereignty. And they better get in line if they want to maintain sovereignty because they're under that nation's control for sovereignty. And every individual has the right to their own sovereignty, but those individuals are not in the right land. So they better go to their right land so they can, in order, have their right with the so-called sovereignty. I'm not trying to go to Africa. I don't have no sovereignty in Africa. I know you want to drag me off there now, right? You want to take my sovereignty away. I understand. But you need to understand that I'm in my sovereign land. Yeah, I am an original Indian of the nation that I'm in. I am an original Native American. That's who I am. So I'm in my sovereignty right now. And for you to even try to drag me out, that would be violating my sovereignty. Yes. Yes, you got it now. You figured it out. And you're not sovereign here because this is not your land. Perhaps you came from Ireland. You need to go to Ireland. That's where your sovereignty is at. Perhaps you came from Germany. That's where your sovereignty is at. Perhaps maybe you came from Canada. You need to go there. Argentina. I don't know. Australia. Wherever you have come from, you possibly need to go back there because that's where your sovereignty is waiting for you at. For me, my sovereignty is right here. I'm a Native American. This is where I came from. My sovereignty. And your deeds, again, I keep telling you, they're just high rental agreements. That's all they are. Yeah. And my grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, my great-great-great-grandfather did not sell you guys anything. They couldn't. It was not for sale. They didn't give you a bill of sale, but they gave you a deed. That wasn't a bill of sale. That may have been a rental agreement. It may be a rental lease agreement, but it was not a sale agreement. It was not a bill of sale. I already told you that. Monique, explain to them that you came to the White House. They got angry with you and they let you go home. They said that you did not understand democracy. You didn't have to understand democracy when you came there in your sovereignty status, under your sovereignty status. You left there under your sovereignty, in your sovereignty status. You probably should have told them that before you left there. No, America didn't get it. Joe Biden and them didn't get it. They still washing glasses right now for the wine y'all drink. I know you didn't drink any wine. You say you drink champagne, but don't worry about it. They drink wine. They gave you champagne, they drink wine. They drink that old cheap wine to kind of get you drunk. That's why they still need to sober up, because they haven't figured out yet that they still didn't get along from you while you were there, because you couldn't give them one. You're never going to be able to, I don't care who they bring to the White House. They don't want the red Indians there, not going to get along. You know why? Because the red Indians need along. They need to get along from somewhere. In order for them to give America along, they got to get along from somewhere. I know. Check it out. They have even went to the extent of bringing the Pope to the White House. He can't get them along. You know why? Because he needs to get along from somewhere. And stay with me. They brought Queen Elizabeth to the White House. And more than likely, they're going to bring Charles pretty soon. But guess what? He won't be able to get them along. His mother couldn't give them along. You know why? Because they need along. Stay with me. I'm helping America figure it out. So when they do decide that they want to try to attack me, they need to understand they're still not going to get along. Sure not. J.P. Morgan has cut nearly 40 investment bankers in the United States based upon the U.S. source right now. J.P. Morgan just cut 40 banks, 40 investment banks. Bankers, they don't need them anymore. For what? No money? We don't need bankers. They don't need banks. They don't need a wallet because they can't find any money. What you need with a wallet and you ain't got $1? Stay with me. I'm just helping you. I know. You don't need a Dooney purse if you ain't got no money. What you need with that? Sell the Dooney purse and get some money. But don't come in with that purse on your shoulder looking like $1 million and you're broke. Come on, I'm just telling you what my grandmother would tell you. Don't come talking to me like you're crazy. I'm just telling you. What you need with a purse costs more than the money you got. That don't make any sense. Girl, you better go get you another purse. You better get you one of the $5 purse and put you $20 in. But you come in here with a $200 purse and you ain't got a penny in? Is you crazy? I'm just telling you what my grandmother would say. Stay with me. I get carried away sometimes because I realize that my elderly, I call them my chiefs. They were my ancient ones, my ancient chiefs. They were so intelligent. They taught me better than that. You don't come in here with a pair of breeches on, cost $300. Boy, you ain't got $1 in your pocket. What you need was the $300 breeches. Stay with me. I'm just carrying you on a trip so you understand that that's what's wrong with the American economy right now. They got too many so-called rich people in the White House, and they ain't got nobody in the White House. They don't got nobody. I ain't said they didn't have anybody. I said they don't got nobody in the White House that's ever been through anything, that know how to do any type of would-be economizing when it comes down to saving money. They don't know how. Idiots coming there with $4,000 suits on. They got $30 in their account trying to say, I'm going to get me a position in the Senate. Are you crazy? My grandfather said, you better not be going to the bank trying to get a loan, and they ask you, it's going to cost you 50 cents to pay down to get this $50, and you ain't got 30 cents in your pocket. Why are you going in the bank trying to get a loan with nothing in your pocket? That don't even make sense to me. Stay with me. I'm just helping you out. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to do it. I never did. Not going to start. I'm not about to go and sit down to Mr. Goldman Sachs and ask him for $50, and I don't have a penny in my pocket. Who do I look like? Am I that crazy or what? He's going to ask me, well, what do you have? And, what can you put up for collateral? I'm going to tell you right now, if I got 2 pennies, I'm going to jump up and slap my 2 pennies on the table and tell him I got 2 cents. But you ain't got nothing in your pocket. You finna try to go in there and get a $1,000 or $1 billion loan? Are you serious? Sit down somewhere and be quiet. I know the dollar doesn't have any value. That's not what I'm trying to get you to understand. Always got to be some wise guy. Don't hold your breath, they say, if you plan on looking for Mr. David Solomon to lead the would-be so-called Goldman Sachs. But he's not about to get them to act like they're about to give him the act. So you need to understand that I can guarantee you that Mr. David Solomon, he got 2 pennies in his pocket. He's going to hang around for a while because they know they need him. They need him in order to try to get another loan from somebody. He talks to you. He got 2 pennies in his pocket, and he know how to do business. They're going to keep him around. He's a deal maker, they say. They say Solomon is the number 2 man. They named John Woodby Walden their first man, but they say he's very salad. They say he's a deal maker who is said to have softened touch that can do anything. They said he can solely with the truth, they said. In other words, he can handle the truth. He can deal with the truth, they say. Because he got the gift. He got the gift. He's a deal maker. So they're not about to sever their ties with Mr. Woodby Solomon. They're not about to get little David Solomon right now. I'm talking about Goldman Sachs. For those of you that don't do your homework, haven't done any research, haven't done no investigation, you might call it. So you don't know anything about what's going on. You have no clue what's happening. Let me help y'all before I take a break. You need to understand that all of you now are claiming the Biden administration is the best that you ever had. You're claiming that Joe Biden has been the greatest president when it comes down to people of color, African American, and all of the people that's been suffering in America from racism and sexism and discrimination based upon LGBTQ. You're claiming that Joe Biden and his administration has fixed all of that, or they're on the verge of fixing it. Let me help you out. For all of you that believe that Joe Biden is doing a great job, he's going to make sure that they bring back Roe versus Wade, and the women's going to be able to kill off children by the thousands in the next year. Stay with me. I'm just giving you the reality of what you're talking about you're going to bring back into the White House, or that you think is going to be hanging around for some more would-be so-called authority. I need you to understand they're out of there. The whole America is out of there. Let me help you out, because you need to understand that why Joe Biden has been fighting and wrestling with none other than Donald Trump. They were trying to impeach Donald Trump for 4 years. They've been trying to put him in jail because he got to America from Germany. I'll just tell you the truth. You can check the record for yourself. They were claiming he was doing bad deals as a would-be so-called builder and constructor. And he was doing this, and he was building buildings, and he was undermining the government, stealing taxes. They've been attacking and following this guy now since he was born. So stop it, America. Meantime, while they're giving you all this distraction, between Joe Biden's administration, just as they've been there, nearly 17 million illegal immigrants are now living in the United States. 16% in this increase since 2021. Now, you can blame whoever you want to, but I need you to understand that 16% increase came after Donald Trump left the White House. He left there in 2020. Well, maybe he didn't leave until 2021 because they couldn't find all of his clothes, and he wouldn't pack his last drawer, and he wouldn't take his shoes down off the shelf in the bedroom of the White House. Stay with me. I'm only messing with you. But I need you to understand this is the kind of story they've been distracting you with to make you believe he didn't want to leave the White House. Everybody heard that story. They knew that. They say he was hiding his suitcases under the Oval Desk. He was cutting into the wall and trying to hide his transistor radio so he could listen in when he did take it. Stay with me. Come on, play with me for a minute. I'm just trying to help you out so you can understand that you might have to laugh, because this thing is really sad when you really get down to the matter of it. Nearly 17 million illegal immigrants are now living in the U.S. of A. Illegal. They didn't say they was legal, 17 million. Well, I don't know. Well, maybe they call it some of us illegal. So I don't know, dude. Just sit down. I told you about trying to, you always want to come with some lies when I'm bringing reports to the world. Sit down right now. 17 million illegal immigrants are now living in the U.S. of A. 16% of an increase since 2021. No, none of them are related to Barack Obama. Stop it. Stop it. None of them are related to him. They didn't come from Kenya. They didn't come from no African continent. They didn't come from the Philippines. They're not from Hawaii. Stay with me. None of them are related to Barack Obama, so stop it. 17 million illegal immigrants are now living in the U.S. of A. 16% increase since 2021. I'm just giving you some numbers so you understand why you claiming that Kamala and Joe and all of them people at the White House now, Nancy, and all those people at the White House. You haven't even heard anything from Nancy. Yeah, she's still hanging around there. She still got her clothes on the White House bedroom floor. She still got bras and drawers hanging all over the place. Yes, she gets angry when people come in there to move them around. And yes, you can end up